Hey, I'm Jake Newton with CPPS, the Center. If you're unfamiliar with us, check us out at cpps.com. We are your partner to address workplace violence and travel risk management for your organization. In this video, I want to talk about how to build or the components that are required based upon prevailing standards for your workplace violence prevention and intervention policy. A policy is the cornerstone of your program. Everything within this program launches from the policy. This is true for every program, but particularly true for something like this, where we're really trying to keep our people safe, trying to save lives, and trying to avoid and or prevent violence. To that end, one of the big things that we start from with this policy is explaining right in the beginning our commitment as an organization of what we're trying to accomplish. So we're committed as an organization to a workplace free from violence and threats of violence. And one of the things we actually like to discuss as part of this, which is often the case, is organizations will have a zero tolerance policy. Check out some of our other videos and information about this, but we want to avoid a zero tolerance policy because, one, it can be perceived as punitive, it can diminish reporting. If in practice, zero tolerance is how we're operating as an organization, it can create an environment where nobody's going to share their concerns. And that's the exact opposite of what we want for this. So we say, let's set our policy up as a no threats, no violence policy. We take every case seriously. We're going to evaluate every report that's received, and we're going to address that report or that concern based upon the circumstances that are present. So that's the beginning of this. We're showing that commitment as an organization. Once we get past that, of course, we want to define who is this going to apply to. And ultimately, we want to make sure that it's addressing all of the different areas where potential violence could source from. So whether that's customers or external parties, employees, contractors, vendors, intimate partners, looking at all of those sources and ensuring that our policy provides for covering our employees and those working within the company while they're performing work-related activities and covering for those different cases. So we outline that scope. Then we get into the actual nuts and bolts of the policy. So clearly defining unacceptable behavior within the policy, such as harassment, coercion. But ultimately, when we think about the definition of violence, this is critical. We want to have it broad enough to where we address any behavior that causes concern for somebody else's safety. And that gives that capability for us as an organization to really look at all of these different things. But we list out what those behaviors are. The next component is weapons. You might have a weapons policy. However, in this policy, we at least want to mention what the weapons regulations are for the organization, and making sure that those are applicable with state laws that you're working with as well. Having the weapons regulations be in accordance with those, but addressing those weapons concerns within the policy or referencing where those come from for your weapons policy if that's separate. The next piece is critical. Again, this is an informational process. We want to have the ability for people to report concerns, do so in a manner that is efficient, have them comfortable doing these things, but reporting considerations is a critical aspect to have in the policy. And particularly, we want to have some sort of anonymous capability. So maybe we have supervisors on there, we have human resources, if you have security, all of those are great. But we also want to ensure that we have an anonymous reporting capability on this as well. When individuals do report, we want to make sure that we're providing that commitment that reports are going to be treated with the highest degree of discretion. We're providing, to the extent that we're able, confidentiality. We take these things serious. Again, when we're dealing with people issues like this, it can be a really sensitive matter, and we want to maintain people's dignity. We want to make sure that we're respecting folks, even if they are struggling and going through a hard time in their life. But we also want to make sure that we're doing these processes, the diligence that they're owed, so that we can also maintain the integrity of the process. For those that report in good faith, we want to provide commitment to non-retaliation. We don't want to blow back on these things, again, because that's one of the quickest ways you can ruin a program like this, is if a supervisor or somebody within an organization catches wind of a report where they weren't in on it, or for whatever reason they felt slighted and they retaliate based upon the report made. That's exactly what we don't and can't have happen in this program. So we want to make sure that we're committed to not retaliating on those different considerations. When people have or pursue protective and restraining orders, we also want to have a segment that addresses that. Now, if we can, we want to make an expectation that people report. Now, is this going to necessarily result in a disciplinary action? No. Maybe it's a training opportunity or an opportunity to educate people on why it's so important that they do report this information if they're in receipt of one or if they're pursuing one. Because again, this has everything to do with protecting the individual that is experiencing intimate partner or domestic violence, and it has everything to do with the ability to protect the organization. So if somebody has this in hand, we want to get that information back. We want to know that's the case so that we can provide protections for the organization or the person that is experiencing that kind of an abusive relationship. Last couple pieces here. We want to have domestic and intimate partner violence considerations addressed within the policy. We want to ensure specifically that threats resulting from this kind of relationship are going to be treated as all other kinds of threats within the organization. If there's an abusive individual in the workforce, that they are the abuser and they happen to be within your workforce, providing that it's a violation of the policy to use work-related resources to stalk or threaten other people. But also we want to provide commitment to those that are experiencing an abusive relationship. Maybe it's time off for reasons related to domestic and intimate partner violence, which is actually codified in several laws around the country. Maybe it's referral to EAP. What is the commitment or the capability of the organization to help individuals within that kind of a relationship? So if you address these, that's going to be a great start for your policy. That's kind of the core nuts and bolts that you want to have addressed within the policy. Lean and mean, it's a strategic end state that we're trying to accomplish that your program launches from. Beyond that, you might have some additional considerations within state and local governance that you have to address as well. We could help you with that if you have questions. But in the meantime, check out some other information to help you build out your program. Go to our website, subscribe to our newsletter, cpps.com. For now, thanks for watching. Until next time. Cheers.